Hello everybody and welcome to Going for Goldbridge. A day late, but it's here. That's what matters. So we'll be taking some of your questions. I've got a bit of man flu, so I will probably be a little bit moody again. But I just want to say, Snowflake Britain, I call it. So Snowflake people, I describe them as basically people who are offended by everything. And I'm no fan of Justin Bieber, and I'm no fan of Jordan Pickford. But there's two things this week that I just find, look, I have to speak about this. So Justin Bieber did an April Fool, apparently, on April Fool's Day, saying that him and his partner or wife were expecting a baby. It was a joke. It was an April Fool. He then had to issue an apology to people who can't have children. I mean, where will this end? If I walk out of McDonald's with a Big Mac and I pass a vegan and they say I can't stand meat, do I have to fucking issue an apology to them? It's bloody ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Justin Bieber does a joke that he's having a baby. He's not having a joke because it's April Fool's Day, but then has to apologise to people who can't have kids. Look, I totally sympathise with people who can't have kids. I totally sympathise. It must be horrible, absolutely horrible. But you know what? My mum had a child before me who died very, very young. I mean, should she be offended because Justin Bieber pretended he was having a baby? I mean, where does the line stop? I just find it absolutely ridiculous how people get offended by everything. If this continues like this, we may as well just all not get up in the morning and just wait for the instructions of the government and be robots. Because emotion, humour, conflict, it's what life's all about. You don't have to agree with everybody. Everyone's got a different opinion by you, but you cannot dictate what people do and don't do as long as it's legal. If he has a joke and says him and his wife are having a baby, let him fucking do it. Realistically, absolutely stupid snowflake Britain and world we live in, where, if it's racism, sexism, anything like that, no problem. You challenge it and they should issue apologies. But if it's a bit of bloody humour, I mean, what are we going to have? Are we going to have a group of, you can't offend vegans, you can't offend people who don't like ice in Coca-Cola. Oh my God, you've got Coca-Cola with ice in it. I don't like ice. I'm so sorry, I'll take it out now. Can I have another Coke? No, we can't afford to give you a free one. You just have to have no Coke. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but I think it's just getting ridiculous. Absolutely stupid. What society are we building where everybody's offended by everything and everybody's got a voice? I don't like that. I don't like the fact that you're wearing a red jumper because red is seen as a very, it's a very aggressive colour. I'll take it off. Oh no, you've got your boobs out now. Oh, it's like, where does it? I'll tell you, I'll just jump off the bus. Yeah, I'll just jump off the bus, and if I break my legs, at least you're not offended anymore. It's just ridiculous. Grow the fuck up. Grow up. This is what life is about. It's about struggle. It's about conflict. It's about divided opinion. Grow up. Grow up. That's what I would say. And I'm sure I'm going to offend some people with that, but I don't really give a shit because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing people being offended by things that are just day-to-day things and are not done in I'm sure Justin Bieber didn't think I'm going to go and piss off everyone who can't have kids with this April Fool's joke. Never. Absolutely never. As for Jordan Pickford, got into a bit of scuffle at the weekend. I saw the clips of it. He's out on a night out and you've got somebody shouting abuse at him and it ends up with a scuffle. I don't know whether it's two separate incidents. Again, I don't really care. This is another aspect of modern society. It's the old Piers Morgan thing, isn't it? My farts don't smell, and anyone who does, I'm going to ridicule them and castigate them. And I just think, look, Jordan Pickford's England's goalkeeper. I don't particularly like what I've seen of him, but I don't really have a problem with him getting into scuffles on a night out. Maybe he should conduct himself better. He's a footballer. What do you think footballers do? Sit at home sipping water, playing FIFA? They've got a life. If they go out and dickheads get in their way, you have a few drinks, you get in. This. Unfortunately, that's the world I grew up in as well. You're out on a Saturday night, someone barges into you when you've had a few beers, and it ends up in a few shoves and everything like that. That's what happens. But no, he should be stripped of the England goalkeeper shirt and sent to prison. Ridiculous. Everybody's judge, juror, and bloody send them to. It's just wrong. It's wrong. I think Unless you have grown up and lived however many years you've lived on the world and never made a bloody mistake, never done something stupid, then stop criticising people for stupid things like that. That's what I would say. Anyway, let's have a look at some of your questions. Hopefully they'll calm me down. Biggest thing you regret doing, says Adam. I tell you what, some of my biggest regrets are actually opening up the internet in the morning and looking at bloody social media, because some of the things that people put on there just wind me right up. What's the most stupid injury you've ever had, says Will. Probably I genuinely have done that old something about Mary opening minutes. I have zipped it in. Yeah You don't have to be massive, but let's pretend I am. But yeah, I have zipped up and caught the very end of it, and yeah, that hurts. Luckily, it didn't get caught. Well, actually, it did. It did get caught in it a bit. I had to yank it out, and yeah, it brings water to the eyes now. Thanks for reminding me that. Not going to do United Summer movies. Favourite gangster movie? I like The Departed. I've always liked that film. Exactly. What would you say is the best way to get into media industry, whether that be as a content creator or graphic designer? Says, I can't really answer that, mate. I think it's such a... I think if, as I've said before, I think if PewDiePie and people like that knew that they were going to be famous doing what they did, then, you know, it's all planned, isn't it? I think you've just got to do what you want to do, really. However, if you want to go into graphic design and stuff like that, I'm not the person to speak to about that. If an ambulance is speeding to save someone, but it runs somebody over on the way, do they stop to help, says Oliver Wakefield. I would imagine if you run somebody over with an ambulance, you might want to stop to help, because I don't think they're going to be in a very good way. So I think you'd have to deal with the immediate danger. Most important lesson you will teach your kids from your own life experiences, Mark Roberts. Manners and respect. That's very important, I think. It's very, very lacking. Ed Woodward or Theresa May. Tough one. Best superhero movie, says Raphael Dimian. I like Batman. And favourite song ever, Mark, says Javis Douglas. I don't really have one. I'm a mood person, really. So I go by mood. Will you ever come to Australia? I'd like to. Have you witnessed something terrible to others while on a road? That's weird. Worst experience on the road driving. What's everyone's problem with the roads? Milking before the cereal and after for me. Funniest high school moments, Jacob, I'll have a think on that one. Best advice for someone whose partner's parents seem to hate them for no reason. Fuck them. It's only your parents, it's only your mother and father-in-law then, isn't it? So whatever, crack on. You know, you're still doing their daughter or son. You win in the end. They can be as arsey as they want, but you're the one slapping their daughter or son's arse. Jordan, I'm sorry to be blunt, but, you know, that's the satisfaction, isn't it? What's the perfect sandwich, says Jordan. My favourite sandwich, I don't know whether they still do them. It's called a triple decker. They do it in O'Brien's. I used to get this when I lived in Ireland. O'Brien's used to have them in England, but I don't think they do anymore. I think they still do in Ireland. So what's a triple decker? It's a slice of quite thick bread, and then you have like chicken mayonnaise, lettuce, onion, slice of toast, coleslaw, bacon, tomato, and yeah, the slice of toast is the medium bit, the bit in the middle is absolutely delicious. I love it. I haven't had one for a long, long time. What are your thoughts on Mr. Han? Don't know anything about him. I'm sorry. Would you spit? No, we'll move on from that. Thoughts on Adam Johnson being released as Arsenal? Well, I think he's served his time, hasn't he? On the scale of nonsense, then what he did was unacceptable. But as far as I know, was she 15 or 16? And maybe he thought she was older. I don't know. He served his time. He's going to still be serving his time because he's going to still get ridiculed. I think if he ever tries to play football again in England, it's a little bit different to some people who've been in prison before. But you know, we do have a law in the UK, and will he go and do it again? I suppose he'll have to be on probation and he'll have to be monitored, but you'd hope if he doesn't do it again, then he has been, what do they call it, rehabilitated. So, you know, I don't have a lot of thoughts on it, but there you go. Favourite childhood moment would be Christmas. I loved Christmas as a child. What's your favourite day of the week, says the Hazard FC. Hazard. I shouldn't have answered that. I don't like you. My favourite day of the week, I always like Thursday for some reason. I always like Thursday. Thursday afternoon when I was working like in offices and stuff. Thursday afternoon was good. Friday was okay, but we always used to go drinking on a Thursday, just for a couple of drinks on a Thursday. So I always liked Thursday afternoon. Friday, yeah, Friday's good, but, you know, some people would leave early and stuff like that. So Thursday was always a good day. Best strategy to win money by betting, please, says Scouse Tipster. Probably don't bet. I mean, I do. Look, I've had this chat. I tweeted some stuff out last week and people are like, oh, you sell out, this, that and the other. Look, at the end of the day, I have always had the odd bet on football. And I was asked by a certain betting company if I would just do one for them. I'm not doing one this weekend. They've asked me again. Other people ask me all the time. And a lot of the time I'll say no. But I do have a bet every now and again. I've always had a little bet on the football. I don't gamble every day. But ultimately, I would say if you're an addictive personality and you can't control yourself, don't gamble. 100%. Gamble responsibly is right. So, but I do like a bet. I had a bet last weekend and it came in. But the thing is, probably a few years ago, I did have a little bit of a gambling addiction. Let me be honest with you. I would be betting every day, and it got so stupid that I was betting. This is God's honest truth, right? Me and my best mate, we were going down to London to do the Jack the Ripper walk because I was really interested in that, and so was he. This is probably about 10 years ago. And on the way down to on the train in the morning, I had my phone and was hardly talking to him because I was gambling on greyhound racing in Australia because that was the only thing you could gamble on. And I mean, I know nothing about greyhound racing, and literally you're just picking people from your phone. That was my low point with it. But I know, you know, I didn't lose massive amounts of money, but I can see the addictive side of it. I could see. But what I do now is, like, I won at the weekend. Now, if that was me 10 years ago, winning at the weekend, I'd put that money onto something else. And you always get this strategy in your head that I'm going to beat the system. I'm going to turn a tenner into 10 grand over so many bets. And you can even work it out. And that's what I don't do anymore. What I do now is I just have a bet for fun, at leisure, really. So I had a bet at the weekend. It came in. I think I won 80 quid off a tenner. Now, and I haven't had a bet since because I'll wait until there's a bet that I want to do, and I know that I've got 80 quid there now, so that's how I do it. So I'm not opposed to gambling. I think it's it's something I do like doing every now and again, but I wouldn't, I'd be careful if you are an addictive personality. Thoughts on Netflix series Walking the Line? Haven't seen it. Shots fired. So there we go. Are you watching WrestleMania this Sunday? Says Lincoln Jack. No, I'm not. And do you think humans will ever set foot on somewhere outside of the solar system, says Smaldini FC? Yes, I do. I think it's going to happen next week. Are police allowed to be granted a search warrant over an online username if it contains the surname of the person they are investigating, to your knowledge? But you've lost me with that, mate, and that's years ago. FIFA is ass, says, I've made Robbie on pro clubs. Do you rate it? Way too needs to bulk up a bit. Get your wording right. I've often wondered this. Why did you leave the police force? Says CB. I just had enough of it. The honest answer is, people ask me if there was a question in there actually. Would you recommend going into the police? Is it like what it's like on the TV? I wouldn't recommend going into policing. I've got so much time for everybody who does it. I still know some people who do it. I left because the government shit all over it and I could see what was coming. I'd done 10 years. I'd done everything I wanted to. And as I said, when you've dealt with one murder, you've dealt with all of them. When you've dealt, the job sort of becomes a little bit repetitive and you become a little bit desensitized because you see so much. So I was becoming a little bit bored. There wasn't really anything I didn't want to get promotion because it's just, pull the ladder up, Jack, and sod the rest. There was loads of cuts coming in, so I could see that we were going to have to do a lot more with a lot less, which meant a lot more stress and a lot less job satisfaction. So that's why I got out, and I wouldn't go and do it. I wouldn't recommend anyone to do it unless you're absolutely passionate that you want to go and do something to sort of help people for a few years. I wouldn't go and do it as a career, but that's my choice. And it's yours. Go to a snack for a film. Okay. Would you ever consider going? No. Is Nando's overrated? Says Pogba. I've only ever been twice, so there we go. What has been your favourite concert gig you've ever been to? Says Douglas. Take that. Would you bring George Lucas to the Star Wars team? Says Kavanagh Rowski. No, not after Phantom Menace. It was shit. Favourite beer? Crunchy or smooth peanut butter? Probably smooth. England should only be... okay, boring question. Would you make your own children take over the United stand at some point in time when they're older? Says Pogba Propaganda. I think that would be nice to hand it on, but My vision for the United stand is probably more of a handover in the next 2 to 3 years. So that's not going to happen, but it would be nice. It would be nice. They've got to be United fans first, of which 2 of them already are. Will you play DTFC? I think we're going to have to. I don't want to, but I can't be dealing with the whole not doing it, so we probably will do. How does it feel sitting in 5th whilst we're comfy in 3rd? Says Obam Blad Kalat Yang shit name. It's football, mate. At the end of the day, I love me football, as people will know, but I can also live with things that I can't control. I can't control that United are in 5th and Arsenal are in 3rd. I can hope that it won't happen, but it's not me who's losing those games. It's not me dropping those points. It's just me as a fan who has to suffer with that. So, and I think, as I've said before, the best thing about football or any sports that you're engaged in, or any hobby that's got a competitive element, is the winning is so much better when you experience the losing. So, the journey it's like anything. It's not about sport actually as well. It's like if I think about what I've achieved with the United stand, or what I achieved in previous jobs where you start off at the bottom and you take it to something, the most exciting thing for me is the journey. It's the journey. I look back at when you start from scratch and you build something. Yeah, it's great when you built something and you're reaping the benefits of that. But actually, you always sentimentally look back at the start and the build from the start and the challenges from the start. So, look, United might be in 5th. United might not finish in the top 4. We might have to build from nothing again. But we won't always be like that. We will get back to the top. It could take 20 years, but we will get back. You speak to Liverpool fans, if they win the league this year, they'll forget the last 30 years. But that'll make it even more important that they win it this year because it's been so long. So there's good and bad. There's good and bad. Monica or Rachel? Rachel Hannah, sorry. Favourite breakfast to have? I like a good smoothie, to be honest, or a fried breakfast, but you can't eat that every day. You'd be dead. Do you think a university degree is worth it, says Vess? That's a very, very good question. I think education is really important. I think that you should do your GCSEs and your A-levels if you're in the UK. I don't know the equivalence of anything else. But degree, I think I never had any idea what I wanted to do when I was 14, 15, 16 and I left school. And it's the stupidest thing I ever did. And then I just went to business studies because my mum thought I'd be a good accountant because I was good at maths. And I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I never had any idea what I wanted to do with my life until I was in my early 20s. So I always sympathise with people like that. But if you've got an idea of what you want to do in your teens, go for it. Because if you want to be a vet, or you want to be a mathematician, or you want to be a teacher, or you want to be an astronaut or whatever, go and do it, because not a lot of people know what they're doing. And I would say, if you don't know what you want to do, stay in education. But I think have an aim to be have an idea of what your strengths are and what you want to do by the time you've done your GCSEs, because then you can start to pick your A-levels and a degree if you need to do it. Certain jobs you're going to need a degree. If you get to play any role in a movie, what movie would it be and what role would you play? I would love to be Batman. I would love to be Batman, yeah. Bulk up and be Batman, that's what I would like to be. Or I would love to do something like some sort of gangster film would be good as well. My dream job as growing up as a kid, Greg, going back to what we were talking about before, was a footballer. I was convinced I was going to be a footballer. Looking back on it, I was never going to be a footballer, because in my teens, I had nowhere near the self-belief that I've had over the last 15 years. So between the age of 8 and 17, I didn't have the self-belief to do it. So I didn't have that fight. I didn't have that, backbone, I suppose. I was Arsenal. I had the talent. I believe I had the talent, but if in any competitive sport, if you haven't got the self-belief and the backbone, you're not going to do it anyway. Talent only gets you so far. But I was convinced it was going to happen. I think sometimes you're a little bit naive when you're young. You believe in Santa and stuff. And I was naively just thought it was going to happen. And, when you get older, and it's probably going back to what I was saying before, if there's one thing I could say to the younger me, it would be that, you've got to switch on and realise that life's about opportunities and grabbing those and creating those opportunities and working hard. You can't, very few people it lands on their lap. And actually, I don't really agree with it landing on people's lap. That can be because your parents are rich and they know people, or it can be shit shows like X Factor. You know, you should have to work for it. So, but I genuinely believed I was going to be a footballer. I had a mate from school who was much worse than me, though. He was convinced about it. Everyone used to take the piss out of him because he wasn't even that good. What do you think about people making autobiography? I know some people who think it's egotistical, but I think some do it to give a general view of inside their life and their line of work. What about you? Callum, I would like to write an autobiography at some point because I'd like it to be a reference, an honest reference to my life that I could read back myself and people who know me could read back. I do think it's a bit egotistical though, because, and I don't want to give like people like DT an idea because he's already got Mr. DT AFC, which I think is the most egotistical thing in the world. I mean, Goldbridge FC, what a wanker. You know, if I did that, even I would call myself a wanker. He's got his own team called Goldbridge FC. So you create a monster. Who would want to read an autobiography about him? Well, probably quite a lot of people. Maybe someone would want to read mine. I think the stories I like are the interesting ones, and my story is quite an interesting one because I've done professional jobs and then I've gone into this world, which is, you know, anybody can do this really, DT. And but seriously, no, the thing about an autobiography, and it's funny because people always say, why don't you do a True Geordie podcast? And I always say, well, for one, he's doing them with Ricky Gervais and people. They're massive compared to me. But for two, I'm not sure I'm ready with that yet because there's a lot of things about my formative years that are quite personal and different to a lot of people. And I don't know that I'm ready to bring that sort of thing out into the public yet. And also, I don't know whether I'll ever be big enough to do that. So I'm quite relaxed about that sort of thing. I don't think I'm at that stage where I'd even consider doing it. Griezmann, Pratt. I would never push my kids into career in football, no. I mean, it's ridiculous the amount of teams who take people at like the age of 6. I like that picture, Sucker Carlson. I love it. Nice one. I better wrap this up in a minute, actually. I tell you what, I had a really good April Fool's prank played on me. It was done by, I think it was my oldest daughter with my middle daughter. And I have a smoothie every morning, and they got up and made a smoothie. And there's a green smoothie I have, which is spinach, apple juice, banana, and a lime squeezed into it. And it's very sweet, but it just looks disgusting. And they gave me this green smoothie, and it tastes disgusting. And what they've done is they blended up spinach, Brussels, celery, and water, and it was disgusting. And I thought, you know what, fair play. The youth can be funny when they want to be. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll close it down there. All I'll say is please don't be a snowflake. Please don't be offended by everything. Some people are going to say, you know, I get called all sorts of stuff. I don't demand apologies. It's life. And I think that's the thing. Somebody did say, what scares you about the next generation? There's a few things that scare me. But in theme with what we were talking about today, I'm really scared that people can play jokes and say things and have to apologise for them, even though the intent was not to annoy or target these little groups. And as I said, you know, if you can be having to issue an apology because you joke about having a baby and it offends people who can't have children, then how far away are we from a vegan walking past McDonald's and complaining and saying they need to have the shutters down because they could see someone eating a burger? And you laugh at that, but I think we live in that world. I think we do live in that world now, where everyone complains about stuff and are allowed to complain it. Because nobody dare say to people, shut up. You know, seriously, I get that you don't like to eat meat, but we're not putting shutters. We're not putting the shutters down on the windows of McDonald's so you don't have to see someone eating a burger. Close your eyes. Put shutters down yourself. You know where it is. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.